Hello, hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am so excited to be here with you and tell you all about the new Procreate Dreams 2 update. There is a lot of really amazing features that came with this update. I'm so excited to teach you about all of them. Just let me give you a little overview of what we're going to be doing today, and then I'll introduce myself. So I'll talk to you about what's new with the update, and we're going to do a little follow along animation together. We're going to animate this really cool magic wand animation where you can magically change something into something else, and it's really, really fun, really approachable, great for beginners. So I think you're going to have a lot of fun today. I'm doing this live in partnership with Skillshare. So let me introduce myself. I am Lisa Bardot, and I'm a Skillshare top teacher. I'm an illustration artist and educator, and I help people find their creativity through drawing on the iPad. I have been using Procreate for over a decade now, and Procreate Dreams for longer than it's even been out. I was one of the early beta testers, kind of helping them as they were developing the app, and it's so much fun. I love it so much. But I'll tell you more about that in a second. So yeah, I have a lot of classes out on Skillshare. If you want to learn more about animation, I have a class all about learning Procreate, which is Kickstart Your Creativity, which will guide you through learning Procreate and establishing a creative practice. And then I have some great classes about Procreate Dreams as well, which we'll be sure to share some links to those. So yeah, thank you so much for being here with me today. And let me tell you a little bit about Procreate Dreams. So Procreate Dreams is an animation app for the iPad, and it's made by the creators of Procreate. So if you've ever used Procreate before, it's got the same user friendliness, and it's just a really well-designed app that's meant to make you be able to just kind of jump in without getting bogged down by tools. That's one of the reasons why I really love it. And it's all touch-based. You can control it with your hands or with your Apple Pencil, and it's really, really a lot of fun. There's some really great tools in there that make animation super duper easy. So recently they announced their version 2 of the app, and really a lot of amazing changes that came with that. Let me tell you a little bit about some of the new things. So they've got, first of all, a whole new brush library. There's like, I think 180 brand new brushes and a whole new brush library just for Procreate Dreams, developed by Kyle T. Webster, amazing brush maker. There's a whole redesigned Flipbook, which is how you do your frame by frame animation, and it's really, really great. There's a whole new interface, and I'll tell you about, what's different from version 1 and version 2, but it's really, it really kind of keeps you in the flow state of creating your animation due to the way that it's designed. And there's select and transform tools, which is something that people have really been requesting. You can export as GIFs now. You can export with transparent backgrounds. You can convert any video you want into a flipbook and do frame by frame animation, and just like so much more. There's a lot of really new features. And so through the lesson that we have today, I'm going to guide you through experiencing a lot of those new features, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So I want to get started today just by kind of giving you an overview of what Procreate Dreams looks like and a little tour of the interface, just so you know kind of how to navigate around and where to find things. And then we'll jump into our follow along lesson. So let me switch you down to my iPad, and I'll start to show you some things. And then of course, I'm using Procreate Dreams version 2. You can download this from the Apple App Store. It's only $12.99 US dollars. They actually dropped the price on it after, I think, around the time this update came out. So it's like a one-time payment as well. So it makes it really, really affordable. So yeah, it's a great app. Highly, highly recommend. Worth so much more than that. Okay, so let me give you a little tour of the interface and tell you a little bit about Procreate Dreams, especially for those who may be brand new to it. When you open up Procreate Dreams, you're going to be in your theater, and this is where all of your projects, all your movies are going to be. And I'm just going to open up one of my projects, but you might have some of those like preloaded sample ones. You can open it up just so you can kind of poke around with me. So let's go ahead. I'm going to open up this one that I made called Odd Collage. And then here we're going to see the main Procreate Dreams interface. So we have a couple different areas. Down here we have our timeline, and up here we have our stage where we can see our movie playback. This little square here is kind of the boundaries of the stage, and that's like what's visible within your movie. And then down here we have the timeline, and we have a little playhead which you can drag back and forth, and you get instant playback when you do that as you kind of scrub over the parts of your animation. There are a few gestures that you might want to know to kind of like navigate around this that will, it just makes it really easy to get around. So you can take 2 fingers and do like a pinch in and out so you can zoom. If you've ever used Procreate, you might be familiar with that. You can also take 3 fingers and you can go back and forth to kind of adjust the time scale. So you can kind of like zoom in if you need to get to, you know, a shorter amount of time there, or zoom back out so you can see everything out. So that's 3 fingers this way. You can also do 3 fingers up and down, and that will adjust the scale vertically, so you can kind of get in there and see your tracks more up close, or you know, zoom out like that as well. And I mentioned tracks because there's some anatomy to kind of understand here. So in the timeline, we have a few different things. We have tracks. You can kind of see gray bars. Those are the different tracks. And you can kind of layer different elements of your animation on top of each other. And then within the tracks, we have content, which are these little chunks here. Kind of click around there. And the content can be a lot of different things. It can be a photo, it could be a drawing, it could be a Flipbook, which is our frame by frame animation. It can be audio, it can be imported video, text. There's all kinds of things that you can use as content when you're making your animation. So that's kind of like some of the basic anatomy of what's going on here. And then I wanted to kind of just show you some of the other little buttons and things right here, especially if you've used Procreate Dreams version 1. Things are a little bit different in version 2. So first of all, down here we have the, these are our modes for the different like types of animation, the different parts of your workflow. So we have the compose, and compose is a new one to Procreate Dreams, and that basically allows you to move around. My animation is kind of hectic, so it might be hard to see, but you can actually move around parts of your animation just to kind of like get things into place without actually like animating them. So you can kind of move things around. And then we have the perform mode, which is where you can actually like move things around and it will capture your movements. You can see it's, if I play that back, let's see how it's moving around to kind of follow the movements. So performing is one of my favorite Procreate Dreams features because you can just very instantly animate something just by kind of moving it around. And it's a really great feature. So let me undo that. And then we have the keyframe where you can actually like create movement using keyframes, which will, if you're new to keyframing, like you'll get to know it a little bit as we, you know, as we create our drawing today. But basically it's, you know, you have a keyframe here and then a keyframe here, and it's in one state here and then one state there. So it can move across the screen, it can get bigger, it can change the opacity. Like you can set it to do whatever you want and it will just smoothly transition to the other state, whether it's bigger, smaller, moved across, that kind of thing. So those are kind of like the main modes of drawing, and then there's, or sorry, of animating in Procreate Dreams, and then there's some other things too. But let me, before I get to those things, I'm going to show you over here. So over here we have this little one. This is new. And this is not a new feature in Procreate Dreams, but the icon and where it's located is different. And this is our selection, like our multi-select tool. So you can use that to select pieces of content. You just kind of draw around them and you'll know they're selected because there's a little red box, and you can move things around. You can move multiple pieces of content around, that sort of thing. And so that's the multi-select. And then we have this little guy here, which is going to be all of our movie settings. So, you know, your project settings, what the frames per second are. You don't have to worry about any of this stuff too much right now, but you find a lot of different settings under this menu here. If you want to type of playback you have, sharing options are going to be found here as well. And then some preferences. So that's what that little thing is. Of course, you can tap theater here to go back to your theater view. And then finally, the other kind of important interface thing to know is this plus sign right here. So this plus sign is how you add new content to your timeline. And there's a few different types of content, which I kind of touched on a little bit. But you can create a flipbook, and the flipbook is to do, again, your frame by frame animation. You can add a drawing, you can add text, you can add additional tracks, and then you can add photos, videos, or other types of files you can import as well. So if you wanted to add audio and that sort of thing, you could just choose a file and import that in. So that's kind of a quick crash course in the Procreate Dreams interface and like kind of how you find a lot of things. It's very it's meant to, I mean, it's set up to be very simple and easy to find the different things. And that's one of the things that I love about this app is like it can be very simple, but it also can grow with you. So you can start out doing some really basic stuff, but then there's lots of stuff happening under the hood where you can easily like, try different things, and kind of as your skills grow, the app is there to greet you, there to meet you at that skill level. And there's just like so many different things that you can do with it. All right, so let me go ahead and exit out of that one, and then we can kind of get into our follow along portion. I'm just gonna check the chat, make sure we don't have any questions that pop through. I know that was all probably kind of fast, but feel free to come back and watch this again if you want a little refresher. Okay, we have a question? All righty. Oh, how do you close a project? Let me show you that. What I love about Procreate Dreams, to close a project, you just tap back to the theater and it's closed. But one of the coolest things, which I love about this is it will remember all your undo states even if you go out. So like it'll automatically save at all times. It'll always be saved. You don't have to do anything to save it. So you can exit back out, go back in, whatever. But if you like do a bunch of stuff, exit back out and open it back up, you can still actually undo things. It retains that undo history, which is like such a cool feature. So there's no limits. Like you're not going to mess anything up. You can always go back and undo it. And that's one of the features I really love about it. Okay, let me see if we had any other questions that came through. Cool. Okay. Let's go ahead and jump into our follow along portion of this lesson. And so try and follow along with me. I'm going to walk you through everything step by step and, explain every step as we go. I'll show you what we're going to be doing here. This is an example of what we're going to be doing. So let me play it back for you. So we're doing this fun little mini animation. We're going to create this magic wand, and we're going to do a little tapping motion. A lot of fun little sparkles and things are going to come out, a little flash of light, and you'll be able to magically change something into something else. And what I love about this project is you can make the something anything you want. I'm going to be pulling in some artwork that I've made previously for the actual things that change, these little apples, but you can do anything you want. And I'll talk more about that once we get to that part of it. But we're going to start from scratch and do this whole animation. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so we're going to be here in our theater, and we're going to start a new project with this plus sign here. Hope these leaves aren't in the way. There we go, this plus sign here. And this is how you start a new movie. You can actually scroll up and down to get different kind of template sizes. But I want you to find the one called widescreen, and that's what we're going to use today. You can tap where it says 4K here, and you can choose other resolutions, but let's just stick with 4K. So again, widescreen, 4K, and then we're going to use the empty option. The Flipbook option is if you want to jump straight into doing frame by frame animation, you can choose the Flipbook option, but we're going to choose the empty option. So go ahead and choose that. And now we have a fresh, open timeline, and we're ready to start making some stuff. So let's go ahead and start by, we're going to actually set a background color. That's going to be the first step that we do. So you'll find how to change the background color here under the movie settings. It's this little lines, and I don't know, they look like little buttons. I think they're like little switches. We're going to tap that. And now we have our movie settings, and we're going to find stage. Okay, so find stage. And then we can set our background color. You can see that right now it's set to white. So let's go ahead and tap on that and we'll get this. If you're familiar with Procreate, this is going to look very familiar to you. And you can choose a color. Here I'm in this disk view. There are some other modes for selecting colors, but I'm in this disk view just so in case yours look different. I'm going to choose kind of a yellowish green for the background of mine and maybe a little more green. And I don't want anything too light. I'm going to kind of go right there. So that way my magic wand will stand out against the background because I'm going to do that in like a light pink color. Of course, colors, whatever you want to do is fine. You can do whatever colors you'd like, but I'm going to pick that greenish kind of color. There we go. And another thing I want to point out while we're here is you can actually have a transparent background by toggling this on and off. And one of the new features in Procreate Dreams 2 is you can export your animations with a transparent background. So there's also a new, you can export as a GIF. So you can have a transparent background GIF and you can use that for however you want. That's a really cool new feature in this version. But I'll turn that back off so we have our green background. And then you can tap again on this button to get out of there. And now we're going to draw our first little piece of artwork that we're going to animate, and that's going to be the magic wand. Okay, so to get started with a drawing, we're going to tap this plus sign here, and we're going to choose the option for drawing. So as soon as we tap this, it's going to go into the drawing mode. So I'm going to go ahead and tap it now, drawing. And now we're in the drawing mode. You could tell because it says drawing there. And again, if you've used Procreate before, this should look very familiar. We have our colors, layers, you know, paintbrush, eraser, smudge tool. And then we have some settings and filters and things like that. We have some settings, some new filters. We have select and transform, which is new to version 2. So that's really, really exciting. But yeah, it should all look familiar if you've used Procreate before. So let me get out of those modes. We're going to start by drawing something. And so let's go into our brushes. Now, one of the really cool things about this update is there are a ton of new brushes. There's over 100, I think it's 180 total, brand new brushes that are actually different from the ones that are in Procreate. Procreate came out with a whole, has 180 new brushes, and this is 180 more brushes. So there's a lot to explore here. And these brushes were designed to kind of be the perfect ones that you would want for doing animation. So there's these great wiggle brushes, chalk, paint, bristles, lots of fun stuff to explore. So I definitely recommend spending some time just kind of like playing with the brushes and getting to know them. And we'll use a few of them in today's illustration. So we're going to find the set that is called, where is it? Monoline. So go ahead and find Monoline. Oh, and actually I should mention, if you don't see these brushes, you can access all of the brushes, all the brush libraries by doing a little pinching gesture like that. And then you can tap between these different libraries. These are the ones that, you know, were in the previous version of Procreate Dreams. So you can pinch out and find the one called animation brushes. And that's how you'll see all these like outline, monoline, wiggle, chalk, bristle. Those are the new brushes, and it should say animation brushes. You can also tap this little carrot icon here, and you can tap back to libraries, and that'll get you to the same place. So if you can't find them, that's where they are. And let's go ahead and find the monoline set. And the brush we're going to use to draw a magic wand is called Winalia. Winalia, hopefully I'm saying it right. So go ahead and choose that brush. All right, so Winalia from the monoline set. And then we're going to choose a color. So we're going to tap over to our color picker here. And I'm going to do a pink one, kind of a light pink color like that. So I'm kind of over here in the reds and then just like a really light color. You can always test it out to see if you like the color. That's what I usually do. That's good. Okay. And now we're going to draw just basically a straight line for the wand. The thickness of your wand is going to depend on how big your brush stroke or your brush size is here. So maybe I'll make it a little thicker. So I'm at like 45% on this slider. And then I'm just going to draw a line like that. We're just going to keep it really, really simple. So go ahead and draw a line about like that. And then I'm going to add just a little detail to this because I want the end of it to be white like a magic wand. So you have layers that you can use, drawing layers. So again, if you've used Procreate, this is very, very familiar. So you can tap the layers icon and then tap a plus sign to create a new layer. And then I want you to tap this new layer and you're going to choose clipping mask. And clipping mask means basically whatever we draw on this layer will be drawn within the shape of this layer right below it. Okay, so again, we tap that new layer and choose clipping mask. And then you can go to your colors and grab a white, like that. And then we can just kind of paint in a little white tip on the end. And you see it's only showing up within that shape because of the clipping mask. Okay, so go ahead and do your wand, add your little white tip, and then we'll be done with that part of the illustration. So again, really, really simple. Okay, now that we're done with that drawing, we're gonna exit out to back to the timeline, and you do that by tapping drawing, and then you tap finish drawing. And now we're back out here. Let me see, oh, I see I have a little, one thing that I'm noticing, and maybe that you'll run into this too, see this blue bounding box is like basically the entire drawing, like the bounds of that drawing, and it's like bigger than it needs to be here. And I can see why. You can go back to your drawing by tapping edit drawing here. So if you need to go back and edit things. And then what I noticed is I have this little white dot right here accidentally. So I'm just gonna, actually I'll use the select tool to just select, I'll select the area over here. And then I use like a 3-finger gesture to clear it out. You might not have to do that. I made a little mistake there. But that's how you get back in and edit a drawing if you need to. Okay, that looks a little bit better. So now that we've drawn our wand, we are going to animate it actually moving and tapping. Okay, so first of all, we're going to use the compose mode. So the motion that we're going to do is we're going to have the wand kind of off stage down here at the bottom. We're going to have it come up, tap, and then come back down. That's the motion that we're trying to go for here. So first of all, we need to kind of set things up with the compose mode and just basically take this off stage like that. So if you don't have a blue box around yours, you might need to tap it like that and you'll get that blue box. And then you can drag it off stage like that. Okay. All right. So the compose mode is really just for kind of moving things around but not animating things. So setting things up or adjusting where they are located, or you can also like change the angle and stuff, but we don't need to do that yet. So that's what compose is for. Okay, and I like to zoom out so I can kind of see off stage and see on stage. And now we're going to use the perform feature to do our actual animation. So we're going to tap over here to perform. And let me just check a setting really quick. One moment. Okay. So there's a couple ways to do this depending on what kind of Apple Pencil you have. So I'll show you the 2 different ways. I have an Apple Pencil Pro. And you can check what version you have. If it says Apple Pencil Pro, this, like, follow along with me now. And if you don't have an Apple Pencil Pro, it doesn't say that, or if it has like the silver band around it, or if you're just using your fingers, I'll show you another way in just a second. So what's cool about Apple Pencil Pro is it has the feature where you can twist it, and you can actually use that to control the rotation of your performance. So I'll show you what it looks like, and then I'll show you how to do it in a second. So let me see. Whoop. Okay, so what I would do is I would move it up, twist, tap, and then pull it back down. So I'll show you that again. So I'm just going to tap over here and do it. You can also tap the actual thing, whoop, and then bring it back down. But I kind of like to do it over here because then my hand's not in the way. So we're going to go whoop, tap, and then bring it back down. And I'm kind of like twisting it as I'm bringing it back down. The performing thing, especially with the Apple Pencil Pro, takes a little bit of practice to kind of like get the motions right. But the best thing about performing is, like, if you do it and you're like, I messed up, you just tap with 2 fingers and it will undo it, and you can like try it again. Boop, I didn't like that one, you know, and you can kind of just keep trying it until you like it, and it's really fast. So that's one thing that I love about performing. Another thing to note, if your thing isn't rotating and And if you turn real sensitivity up, it will have you twisting. If you have it down, it won't twist. So I'm twisting my pencil, but nothing's happening because the roll sensitivity is down. So that's something to pay attention to. And then motion filtering, if you turn that up, it will kind of like smooth all your motions out or not. Okay. Okay. So we need to maybe repeat that a little bit. Okay. Just a second. um, okay, let me know when you guys can hear me. Yeah. Can everybody hear me okay? Sorry. Okay, let me get rid of all that. Undo, undo, undo. Okay, I think they can hear me now. Are we good? Okay, I think we're good. Okay, so I don't know where it cut out. There is going to be a recorded version of this available. So you can rewatch it here. I'm also going to have it available on my Skillshare teacher page. So you can find it there as well. And you can come back and rewatch it. So I think maybe it cut out when I was kind of showing you how to do the performing. And we were adjusting these motion filtering and roll sensitivities. So roll sensitivity basically tells you how much it responds to you actually twisting the Apple Pencil. If you have that turned down, it's not going to twist. Like I'm twisting and nothing's happening. So that's something to pay attention to. And then the other one is the motion filtering. If we have that down, it will kind of smooth here, let me turn that up. If we have the motion filtering, it kind of like smooths everything out if you turn that all the way up. So it will be a little more expressive if the motion filtering is turned down, and it will be a little smoother if it's turned up. Okay, so let me actually undo all of that. And I want to tell you how to do it if you don't have an Apple Pencil Pro. So I'm going to turn that setting off for me just so I can show you how to do it. If you want to turn this off, if you have an Apple Pencil Pro, this is how you would do it. But you would go to the movie settings, preferences, gestures, and you could turn off rotate performing with Apple Pencil Pro. Again, I wouldn't worry about this if you have an Apple Pencil Pro, but this is just so I can show you what to do if you don't have it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to perform a rotation and then I'm going to perform it moving. It's kind of like a two-part thing. So if you hover or tap on this little red node here, you'll see this little kind of, I call it the noodle. I think it has a different name, but I call it the noodle. This little noodle shape, shaped little icon. And if you tap on that, I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. You can actually move it around like this, and it will capture your movements. And it's all super smoothed out because I have the motion filtering on super high. I can actually turn that down, and you can even see how it adds a bunch of keyframes down there. So let me turn that down, and now it's actually moving. So the way that you would kind of perform this is I would tap here, grab the noodle and kind of just whoop, and then put it back down. I'm going to move it into position, but first I'm going to do the rotation. Oops. So grab the noodle, boop, and then come back down. Okay. It feels a little abstract probably because it's not actually up here happening. So again, one more time, just grab that little noodle. Maybe wait a minute, it's coming on stage. Whoops. Sorry. And boop, and then bring it back down. And then once you do that, you can actually move this playhead back here. And then you can move it. So you're not grabbing the corner anymore. You're actually going to move it up. Whoop. And then bring it back down like that. I'm going to do that one more time. Now something that's kind of funky that's happening, and you might notice this, is like it's kind of rotating from this point. But we actually kind of want it to rotate from where you would be holding it. So it'd be like this, you know, like whoop, rotating from this point. So that's why it kind of looks a little funny. And you can adjust it to kind of fix that. So let's go ahead and pull 3 dots here. We're going to tap that. And we're going to tap Edit Anchor. And this is like our pivot point. You can see it's rotating around this little X. That's why it looks like it's like rotating from here. But we want it to rotate like from here, if that makes sense. So we're going to grab that little, it's like a little plus sign, and put it like right there. So here it is. You can kind of see it. But I'm going to put it right there. And that's where we want it to rotate around. So if it's looking a little funny like that, that's probably why. So go ahead and move it to like where your hand would be holding it. And then you can tap this little check mark. And now see how it looks more natural. Whoop. Okay, so I'm gonna actually start over with this because I messed up the ending. So if you need to like completely delete all of your performing, you can tap over here. So these are all your little keyframes, and these are what I actually like tracking the movements. And over here, I don't have any. So if I tap and hold that, we're going to get a little menu, and you can choose to delete and just like start over. So that's like an option too. If you're like, I don't want to undo, but I just want to get rid of everything, you can do that, which again, tap and hold where this kind of line of keyframes are and choose delete, move and scale. Okay. So I'm going to do that animation one more time with the kind of like not Apple Pencil Pro version because I think it got a little confusing. So I'm going to do it one more time. Oh no, we're getting some sound issues. Okay. Oh, now video's gone. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, yeah, I can see theirs. Okay. I don't think they can hear me. Okay, can you guys hear me and see me? Like, let me know in the chat just so I can be sure. I don't think it's back yet because I don't see it on my end. Audio is great. Okay, cool. Video is good. Video is gone. Okay, I'm not quite sure what's happening. Apologies if you can hear me but not see me. I love you guys. Thanks for being patient. We usually have no issues when we live stream, but of course today we do, huh? Okay, sound only, no video, still can't see you. Okay, we see you guys and we're working on getting it fixed. Apologies. I know you guys are excited to keep animating. Feel free to put in a question of what we learned so far and I can audio answer it to you maybe while we wait for that. But again, thank you so much for being patient. I apologize. Total black. Oh, thanks, Steph. Love you too. So what I'm going to do, just so you guys, if you can hear me after this is over, I'm going to edit this together. We'll cut out all the black parts and and I'll put it on my Skillshare channel. So you can take the full thing without interruptions there and you can go back and rewind and stuff like that. So let's see, I had a question about drawing. In drawing mode, is there a select and transform just like Procreate? Yes, there is. So when you're in the drawing mode, there is an option. It'll say select and transform instead of like the little icons like in Procreate, but it does the same thing. So you can select and transform, you can copy paste, all that kind of stuff. How is Procreate Dreams different than Procreate? Well, you can do so much more with animation stuff than in Procreate. If you've ever used Procreate's animation tools, they're similar and you can find similar things inside Dreams, but Dreams does so much more, like the performing feature and the keyframing and like the different tracks. You can have different tracks within your frame by frame animation, which you can't do in Procreate. And then Procreate, I like to use in my workflow. I like to use it for like creating the artwork. I think like Procreate is my like native language for actually generating artwork, creating artwork, drawing things, drawing artwork. And then I like to take my artwork from Procreate, bring it into Dreams, which I'll show you how to do, and animate it. So that's kind of my workflow, but you can also just create artwork right inside Procreate Dreams like I've been showing you too. So either way. So Jerry was asking, oh, our video is back, I think. Jerry, this video will be on YouTube and you can watch it, you know, for free, just like you are now. And then for the Skillshare class, I think you have to be a member for that one. So, okay. We had a quick little Q&A session, but I think we're back. Can you guys see? Yay, you're back. See you. Okay. Thank you guys so much for your patience. I apologize for that. Appreciate you sticking around and being here with me. And also if you had to go, no worries either. You can always come back and watch it later. So, okay. So where we were at, oh, and I want to, Brooklyn says my wand keeps trying to resize when I do the perform. And that kind of happens sometimes. So I'm just going to address that and then I'll kind of go through that performing part again. Sometimes when you're trying to grab this little rotation noodle, you might end up grabbing this red dot instead and it will resize, and that's just because they're like really close together. So you have to make sure you're on the noodle and not accidentally grabbing this little red node. That'll resize and then this will rotate. Okay. All right. So the last thing that we did was adjust our anchor point by tapping these three dots. We went to edit anchor and we moved this little plus sign to kind of where your hand would hold a magic wand. So that we did. And then I'll show you how to actually perform it. We're going to do a rotation and then we're going to move it up and move it down. So that's the steps that we're going to do. So first I'm going to find my little noodle here. If you have hover, if your iPad supports hover, it'll just kind of pop up like it does for me. But if not, you just tap the red dot and that little noodle will come up. And so now I'm going to go whoop, tap, and then back down. I'll do it one more time. So grab the noodle, whoop, tap, and then back down. So that's kind of representing the tapping motion. So we got the rotation part of it done. And then we're going to move the playhead back and we're going to add a movement kind of over the top of that rotation animation. Okay, so move your playhead all the way back to the beginning. And then we're going to go up, wait for it to tap, and go back down. Does that make sense? It might take a little bit of practice. You might have to try it a few times to get the timing right. But again, I'm going to move the playhead all the way back, go up, tap, and then go back down. Okay. How do you clear the performance while keeping the illustration? Kyra asks. So if you want to clear out, and maybe this part got cut off before, so I'll show you again. If you want to get rid of all the like actual animations, but keep the drawing, you want to tap kind of, see this is your keyframe track, and it's got all these little keyframes that basically tell it where to be and how to rotate and, you know, how to do the animation basically. And if you tap somewhere where there are not all those, like right here, you can tap and hold and you can choose delete, move, and scale. And that will just clear out all the animation and you can just start again if you want. So that's how you would do that, but I'm pretty happy with that. Okay. So hopefully you're able to create something that looks like it comes up, taps, and comes back down. Okay? Because now we want to start adding the magic part of it. So, whoops, I have this track on accident. That was when I was writing, you guys. Sorry. Anyways, okay, so yours should look kind of like mine, and this is where we want to be at. Okay? All right. So the next step in the process is to add all the fun little sparkles and magical sparks and those kind of things. So we're going to be doing that using frame by frame animation, using the all new redesigned Flipbook. So all the improvements that have come to the Flipbook feature, I love so much. I will be perfectly honest that frame by frame animation has never been my forte. Like, I don't always the patience to sit there and like draw the same thing over and over again, but slightly different. That's why I love just illustration in general. I like to spend a lot of time on one drawing, but anyways, I digress. But with all the changes and things that they brought to this flipbook feature, like it just makes it so much easier. You can get more into the flow state. You have a lot of more control. So you'll start to see that as we start to use it. So let's go ahead and jump into it. First of all, we're going to figure out where we want this animation, all these sparkles to start. So I'm going to move the playhead, and what we're going to try and do is like kind of as it comes up, like about right here, we want some like a trail of sparkles to like follow it down and then like sparks to fly once it like taps. That's what we're going for. So we're going to move our playhead to kind of right before it starts coming down, maybe right there. So then it'll come down, but I want to start about right there, a little bit before. And that's where we're going to start this frame by frame animation. So go ahead and move your playhead there, and then we're going to tap the plus sign, and we're going to choose the flipbook option. And so as soon as we tap this flipbook option, it's going to go into flipbook mode, and it'll look a little bit different, and we'll have all the features that we're going to use for doing the frame by frame animation. So go ahead and tap flipbook, and now we're in flipbook mode. You can tell that it says flipbook right there. It looks a lot like the drawing mode. You know, we have all the same kind of stuff up here because you can draw and do all the same things that you can in drawing mode, but we have the addition of this frame by frame timeline. And so you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are all the frames of animation. And so you would basically be drawing in each of those little frames. So you'll see this as we kind of dive in. You can move this timeline back and forth to watch the other video elements play back. So we can draw something to interact with what else is happening on the timeline, like that. Okay, so that's a little rundown. There's some other features here which we'll use as we kind of progress a little bit more. Okay, so we're going to start by having some little sparkles that like leave a little trail as the wand moves down. So let's pick a brush for that. We're going to go up to our brushes, and I want you to find the noise set. There it is. Find the set called noise. It's kind of towards the bottom. And again, we're in the animation brushes. If you don't have that, you can pinch out, find the one you want, but we want the animation brushes. And we're going to find Christmas bells. That's the one we want. It kind of looks already like sparkles. So go ahead and choose Christmas bells from the noise set. And then we're going to choose a color. And for the color, let's do like a bright yellow kind of color like that. So go ahead and choose like a nice bright yellow. And now we're ready to start drawing our sparkles in. So we can kind of decide where we want these to start coming in. I think I'm going to start the sparkles. Well, we'll just start here on this frame. Brush size is going to matter here. You can do a little swatch to see, you know, how that brush looks at whatever size you currently have. I'm going to go a little bigger. I'm going to be at like 40. Actually, no, 45%, what I had is probably good. So I'm like around 45% for the size. If you have it smaller, they're going to be like little dots, and that's probably not what we want. So about 45% is good. Okay. All right, so on this frame, we're just going to do a little, just a little start of the sparkle, okay? So just a little bit, right on the end of the wand. And then you can tap on frame 2, and you'll see little purple version of what you had just drawn. And this is what's called an onion skin. And it's basically a preview of your previous frame in animation, but kind of like with the opacity turned down and the color is a little bit different. So that you can use that as a guide to see what happened in your previous frame so that you can do the next frame. So that's all that is. So we can see our little onion skin. And so in this one, we're just going to do another little, just a little bloop of a few sparkles there. And then we'll go to frame 3. And the wand isn't really moving yet, but we can already scrub and see, like, you know, as it looks like the sparkles are kind of moving around. So you can kind of like do that. Well, let's go to frame 4, and maybe we can make them a little bit bigger or something. And now it's going to start actually moving. So we're actually getting somewhere now. So again, we'll do one more like that on frame 5, and then you can tap over to 6 and start following the motion of the wand as it goes down. So I've kind of added something on all those frames. And now I'm on frame 7. For me, it might be different kind of depending on where you started your animation, but respond to the movement of your wand for this. And so now I'm on 7. And now I'm like having some sparkles where I started them, but now the wand is moving down, if that makes sense. I'll go to 8, and I'm kind of trying to draw like a little bit of a line using the onion skin as sort of a guide. So I'll go to the next one. And then it started moving really fast. So I'm going to draw kind of like maybe a line like that. So it's like, whew, like that. A lot of little sparkles there. So now I'm drawing a little line down. And then now it's here. And so I'll do something like that now. Starting to kind of get away from where they started because they're like fading out, if that makes sense. Ooh, and you can kind of preview it. You can also hit play. It's really fast, but it'll look better once it's all like done. So we're almost at the bottom. Actually, that is the bottom. So what we're looking for here in animation is the moment that it taps and it starts to go back up. That's going to be a really important part of our animation. But let's see and then it starts going back up. So for now it's starting to go back up. I'm going to kind of continue the trail kind of fading off, and then like I'll leave a little bit down here, if that makes sense. So about like that as it starts to go back up. And you kind of get a feel for this the more you do it. And now it's going back up. So my line is kind of from here and it's going back up. And then I can go to the next one, go back there, and then kind of shorten it, do less as I go. And then kind of like keep going, and then like maybe just a few as it like fades out. Does that make sense? Hopefully. So you can see it kind of following and sparkling like that. Okay. Alrighty. Okay. So you've got a kind of trail of sparkles happening. That's not all we want to do for this. We want like some sparks flying and little flashy lines and things like that. So we're going to add some of the sparks flying. And so for that, we want to find the moment at which it hits, which is right here. So for me, that's frame 10. For you, it might be something, but that's where it taps and starts going back up to the next frame. Okay. And we could draw our little sparks right on the same, on the same frame, but Procreate Dreams 2 has this great feature where you can have multiple layers within your frame by frame animation. So what I want you to do is tap this, this icon. It's like a solid line and an outline. And it's going to create a whole new set of frames that you can draw on, and it won't affect any of your other frames. If you use Procreate and you use layers, it's kind of similar to that. So we're going to create a whole new track, and you can do things to different tracks. There's like a lot of options that open up to you when you kind of separate things out onto tracks. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to go here, where it hits, and I'm going to switch to a different brush because I want to draw some little things coming out. So let's go to our brushes, and in the same set of the noise set, go ahead and choose Silk Pod. Go ahead and choose Silk Pod from the noise set, and we'll use the same color. And we're just going to do, my brush size, by the way, is like 27%. I'm just going to do some very light little motions like that, kind of like a little curves, like little blue, kind of coming out like that. And they're very light. So for this one, these are kind of light. So go ahead and draw like a few little shapes like that, and then you can go to the next frame. And it might be a little hard to see the onion skin because it's so light, but you can kind of find where they are. And now they're kind of coming out from that same spot, but a little bit bigger. And then you can go to the next one and like make them come out a little bit more like that. This brush is really fun. And now you can kind of like now they're moving this way, so don't start them here, start them a little bit further out. Ooh, like that, because they're kind of like moving now. Whoops, moving that way. And then there we go. And now you can just draw them kind of like falling and fading out. They get really light. So it should look, ooh, you see that? pretty simple, like a quick little thing. Okay. All right, checking to see if you guys are following okay. Cool. Sorry again about the sound issues that we're having. Okay. All right, so there's another thing. And so that's our little like flash. And then I want to do one more thing for this little animation and to have some kind of sparks fly. So we're going to use another layer, another track for this. So we're going to tap this icon again. Okay. And we're going to find again that frame where it like hits. Again, for me, it's frame 10. So find that frame. And for the color, let's go a little lighter. I'm going to go a little closer to green so I can get like a really bright yellow and just go really bright. So it's just a little bit like lighter and brighter version of the yellow. And then we're going to do a different brush. So we're going to go actually into a different set now. The Wiggle set, which is I think one of my favorites out of this new brush library. We're going to choose the Vanishing brush. So go ahead and go to the Wiggle set and choose Vanishing. Okay. Alrighty, so go ahead and choose Vanishing, and now let's start our sparks. So we're going to start kind of similar to how we did those flashes with just like a little thing like that, three little lines kind of coming out. Okay. And then we can go in and we kind of make the little now they're out like, and then we can go to one and they're kind of getting bigger. So curving a little bit. Whoops, that was deleted. I'm going to make these bigger. So if you have, I'm going to undo it. I'm going to go up a little bit higher. Okay. So I want to make them kind of bigger so it looks more, I don't know, interesting, like more stuff is happening. So we can, that way they get like nice and big like that. And again, I'm just using these onion skins as a guide so I know where to put them. And then I'm going to start making them kind of curve down like that. So now the sparks are starting to go down. And I'm using pretty light pressure. When you do light pressure with this brush, you get a lot of broken lines. And so it kind of looks like sparks. Or if you do heavy pressure, you're going to get more solid lines. So that's just something to keep in mind. And now we're kind of on the curve. So we're going to draw it curving over like that. And then draw the curve a little bit more. When something is flying and then falling, it's a little slower on the curve. So we kind of draw more frames there as it kind of gets to the curvy part. And now it's kind of starting to come down. We go to the next frame. And now it's like falling fast. So the lines get longer, they get broken up a little bit. And we can go to the next frame and kind of draw the lines kind of coming down with a really light pressure. So you get all these nice little broken lines. And then kind of finish them out. I did it really light there, so there's just like a few dots basically. And then woo, you can see them fall down like that. Scrub back and forth. You can hit play. Whoop. There you go. Fun little animation. Okay, so hopefully you were able to draw some sparks and some special effects and things like that. And you have a fun little frame by frame animation. You could always keep adding more and more to this and more sparks and more things like that. On some of mine, I just kept adding more of these little spark lines, but you can do whatever you want. So hopefully you have something like that and we can actually change something into something else now. So we're ready to move on to that part. All right, let me check. Did we have any questions pop up? Cool. Okay. All right, so we're done with this part. So we're going to exit out and we're going to actually change something into something else. This part's pretty easy. The flipbook part is probably the most time-consuming part, I would say, because you had to draw all the little frames. So let's go to where it says flipbook here, and then we're going to choose finish drawing, and that's going to take us back out to our timeline, and you can actually like play it back and see how it's looking. If you ever want to go back in and adjust your flipbook, you can tap on the piece of content, the flipbook content, and choose edit flipbook, and it'll take you right back in there. So that's how you can edit things. Okay, So we're looking pretty good. Actually, I want to add a little bit of a glow to this before we do the actual changing. So this is pretty cool. So just follow along with me and I'll kind of explain it as I go. So we have this track that has a Flipbook in it, and we have the empty part of the track right next to it over here. I want you to tap and hold that empty part of the track and choose duplicate. And that will make a duplicate track of that content. Okay? So we're going to add like a little bit of a glow effect to these sparkles so it looks even more cool. So what I want you to do after you've duplicated it, on the actual content itself, you're going to tap and hold that. And we're going to choose blend mode from the menu because we can apply a blend mode to a piece of content, which is pretty cool. So choose blend mode, and then I want you to choose add. And add has a really intense brightening effect. That's what this blend mode does. If you're not familiar with blend modes, just kind of go with it. They can get a little complicated, but we're going to choose the add blend mode, okay? And you can already see it's like starting to, it like lightened it up a little bit. But it will look even more glowy if we blur it a little bit. So that's actually what we're going to do next. So what I want you to do is I want you to move your playhead so it's like maybe right there, somewhere in the middle where you can see all the sparks and things. And then we're going to tap over keyframe. We're finally going into this mode. So go to keyframe. And then I want you to, once you're in keyframe mode, you're going to tap the playhead. It should look like a little, like a clapperboard. Tap that. And we have some options here. We're going to choose the option that says filter, because we're going to add basically a keyframe to make it look blurry. So we're going to choose filters, and we're going to choose Gaussian blur, or Gaussian blur. I never know how to say it. Go ahead and choose that one, the blur one. And then you're going to turn the blur up. You can kind of see there's like a sweet spot. You don't want to turn it up too high because it'll just make everything super blurry. But just so it kind of has that glowing effect. Mine is like 5%. And hopefully you can see the difference. Okay. And you'll notice when you do that, some keyframes are created, and it has the little blur icon, which is this circle kind of thing. What I want you to do is you can actually tap and move these keyframes around. So if you tap on this one, you can move it, just tap and hold and move it around, and just move it to the beginning. And that will just make sure that it's blurry all the way across the whole animation. But you can make things like start less blurry and get more blurry with these keyframes, which is pretty cool. So now you have that fun little glow effect, kind of adding to our animation. Yay. So hopefully you're able to follow along with that one. Okay. All right, now that we've got a little we're gonna actually change something. So what I'm gonna do for the thing that I'm gonna change is I'm gonna pull in some artwork from Procreate, and I'm gonna change it. So this, maybe just watch so you can kind of like see what to do, or you can pull in some artwork of your own if you have something in Procreate, but I'm gonna go into Procreate. Oops. Okay, so here I am in Procreate. I have these apples that I drew during one of my art retreats that I was leading this year in France. There were these really amazing apples on the trees, and I got really inspired, and I made these little apples. So you can see in my layers, I have all the different apples separated into different layers. And what's cool about Procreate Dreams is you can just drag in your artwork from Procreate. Like you can drag in a layer, you can drag in an entire file, and you can start animating it, which is really great. So I'm going to choose this green apple, and I'm just going to tap, hold, and drag it. So you can see I've got it here. And then I'm going to pull back into Procreate Dreams. And then I'm just going to drag it like over here. You can see that dotted line, and drop it like that. And then you can see I have my apple now. I can move this piece of content over to the beginning, or I can actually just grab the side of it. If you tap the edge of it, you can adjust the length of your content. So I can like drag it to the beginning to take up the entire beginning part of it. So that's how you can add just a layer from a Procreate file into it. And then I would go to Compose to kind of shrink it down. It feels a little big, so I'm just gonna shrink it down a little bit and make sure it's in the right spot. Thankfully, it kind of pasted right where I need it to be, but if it didn't, you could move it to wherever you want it to go and just make sure it's like, you know, kind of there where the magic wand hits. Okay. Okay. And so the other kind of fun thing that I was doing to my apple, so it doesn't just look static sitting there and then it changes, is I added just a quick little perform to it. So I went to perform and I got the little rotation noodle and I just kind of like moved it back and forth. And I'm just like moving just ever so slightly back and forth. So it just kind of has a nice little movement to it. It's not super static. Okay. So that's an optional thing, but I think it really adds to it. So you can play around with adding just a little bit of movement to it. Okay, so we've got our first thing, and now I'm going to add in my second thing. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my Procreate file, and I am going to choose the red apple. I'm going to change it from green to red. So I'm going to grab this red apple, drag and drop, and go back to Procreate Dreams, and I'm going to drag this right above the green apple so you can see the dotted line there. Probably about here is where it's going to change, but I can always adjust it. Oh, you know what it did? I accidentally got it on the same track. Let me fix that one sec. It kind of pushed it over instead of like making its own track. So I'm going to try that one more time. Oops, Dreams. Okay. I'm going to just drop it down there because you can actually rearrange tracks. So I want it to be on top of the apple, the green apple. So if I grab here next to the track, I can just move the whole track up. That's another thing that you can do. You can move them around, whoop, like that. Okay, anyways, I'm going to go back to compose so I can put this apple in the right spot where it needs to be. So I'm just going to kind of shrink it down. Let's see. That's probably a good position. So kind of get it into position. I'm going to move this over just a little bit, make it a little longer, change the duration of it. And then I'm just going to do the same perform. I'll go to perform and then just kind of like make it wiggle around like that. Okay. Now all we have to do is like end one and start the other one right when the wand hits, and then it'll look like it's changing. So I'm gonna, let's see, it's right there. So that's the point where I need this one to start. So I'm gonna move this handle over, put it right there. And then I'm going to kind of zoom out over here so I can grab this end. And I'm gonna move this one. So you see how it kind of like snaps with a red line? So it lines up with that one, which is kind of nice. So let's see. Woo, there we go. Boom. So you can see just by like one stopping and one starting, like that's all the change really is. And you can put, you know, anything you want, you know, in here. And I wanted to show you some other ideas. There's one more like effect that I'm going to show you, but I want to show you some other ideas of things that you can change. So I'm going to go back out to my theater and give you some examples. So, well, first of all, this is one that I made to kind of help promote this class. I did a drawing of, Procreate Dreams 2 has a new icon, and this is the old icon for Procreate Dreams. And so I was like, oh, it'd be fun to do one where we change, you know, the icon into the new icon. So you can see that's what's happening there. And I really, really like the new icon a lot. It like looks like the Procreate logo, but like little tracks. Bravo to Procreate, I love it. So that was one little fun thing I did, and I drew those in Procreate and brought them in. This is another fun thing that you can do. I took a drawing that I had done. This is actually from a Draw This in Your Style I hosted this year. So I took the sketch and then the final art, and this is what that looks like. And so it's kind of like taking a sketch and like a little boo, and then, oh my gosh, magic, it's all done. Which is a fun way to showcase your artwork on social media. You can have this cute little video. So that's another fun option. I also did this one where I had this lantern that I drew for one of my YouTube lives. And then I changed it to from, you know, off to on basically, and changed the background and things like that. So that was like another fun, and I made the like little, you know, kind of pulsating and glowing and stuff like that. It's really fun. And then this one, This one is really cool because I actually took some photos that I got from a great website for free stock photos is unsplash.com or pexels.com. You can get some really great stock photography that's free to use, and that's where all these photos came from. And I took just some objects and I actually used Procreate's select and transform tool and I cut them out. Let me open this one up just so you can see where the transform. So there's the select tool and you can like draw selections. You can go to transform and you can move things around just like you would in Procreate. So you can actually like cut something out and then you can animate it afterwards. So that's another idea of things that you can do. There's so many possibilities with this animation of things that you can magically transform. So I hope that inspires some different ideas for you to do. And then there's just one more effect that I want to show you for this, and that is to just add a burst of light that happens right when the actual tap happens. So I'm just going to kind of do this at demo speed, and you can like come back and add this effect later if you're still trying to figure out what you want to change. So let me show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and start right here. I'll put my playhead here. I'm going to tap the plus sign and create a drawing. So I'm going to tap drawing. And then I'm going to fill this layer, the whole layer, with yellow. So I'm just going to actually drag the color circle and drop it in, and that will fill everything with yellow. Okay? So I have basically an entire canvas filled with yellow. And then I'm going to go back out. That's all I need to do. So finish drawing. And now basically I'm going to use the opacity keyframes to like make it flash. You'll see. So I'm gonna first of all, I'm gonna move my playhead to the beginning here. And then I'm going to tap keyframe. And then I'm gonna tap the playhead to make my keyframe. So I'm gonna tap this playhead, the little clapperboard. I'm gonna choose the filter option. And this time I'm gonna do opacity. So go ahead and choose, or well, if you're following along, you choose opacity. And then I'm just gonna turn that down. So that basically, this keyframe says the rest of the animation, it's gonna be completely transparent because I turn the opacity all the way down. And then during a specific part of it, I'm gonna have the opacity up so it looks like it's flashing. So I'm gonna find the moment where I want it to be fully, opaque, which is again, right there. And I'm gonna tap, you see the little opacity, like little this red circle. If you tap that, it will make a keyframe right at that point. And so you can see now there's a keyframe there. So that's going to be the point where it's going to flash completely bright. But I'm going to add a keyframe on either side of this, right there, and then right there. So now I have 3 keyframes. And they're all set to 0% because I haven't changed anything. But this one, that's the key. I'm going to tap that keyframe, and I'm going to turn the opacity all the way up. Okay, are you following me? Boop. And now we can see a little flash that happens right when it taps. And you can adjust these keyframes. Leave this one where it is. This one, maybe it could be a little shorter, and then it kind of like takes a while to fade off. You can kind of play around and move these keyframes around to get the look you want. And so you can play around with that. And then the other thing is doing a blend mode on this one, just like we did with these kind of glowy sparkles. So we can tap this piece of content, tap and hold, choose blend mode, and then choose add. That's just what we did for this one with the kind of glowy sparkles. And then it just, see how it has this kind of like glowy effect over the top. Ooh. And this little kind of flash of light really also helps sell the effect because you can't see the apple change from one to the other. It kind of like hides that, like, misdirection. What's it called when a magician does that, Exactly. That's exactly what it's for. So let's play all that back. Yay. And you can actually watch your animation in full screen. There's a quick way to get to full screen playback, and that's with a 4-finger tap. So I like to take these 4 fingers, everything but the pointer finger basically, and just tap like that. You can get to full screen and back out. But you can get to full screen and you can tap the play and you can watch your animation big like that, which is really cool. And you can also tap back to get back to the timeline. All right, so that's all the steps to create this animation. Again, there's so many possibilities that you could do with it, but I really quickly wanted to show you where you would go to export this out if you wanted to share it. So your export options are going to be here in the movie settings. So this little icon here, and then you go to share. And you can choose one of these options. You can share it as a video file. So if you wanted to like upload it as an Instagram reel or to YouTube, you choose video. If you wanted to use an animated GIF, you could paste it into your stories or use it on websites and things like that. There's also some other options. You can like export your whole file if you wanted to just share it with somebody to use in their Procreate Dreams. But there's also these advanced export options, which I want to direct you to. So I'm going to tap that, and then we have even more options for how we want to export. You can choose the format, GIF, you can export a frame. I'm going to choose the video option. You have some options here. I want to show you the GIF options too. If you choose GIF, there's a bunch of options here. Just wanted you to know that these exist because especially this one is new. But I would choose video if you're going to post it into like your Instagram, or anywhere where you would upload a video, you could choose video. Anywhere where you're going to paste it as like an image, the GIF format would work for that, but I'm going to choose video. Then you can choose the different settings, and then you can hit share, and you can like save the video to your camera roll or what have you, and then you can share it. So that's where you'd find all the export options. I'm going to cancel. Okay, I think we got through all the things that I wanted to cover today. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm gonna actually see if we have any questions that popped through while we were kind of going through things. Maybe we can field those over here. I'm just looking through the chat. Do we have any questions that kind of popped up? I'm struggling to understand what keyframe is versus the other tracks. So keyframing is basically moving from one state into another state, like we did with this. We basically said at this point in our timeline, we want this yellow block, to be completely transparent. And then when it gets to this point in our timeline, we want it to be fully opaque. So it's changing from, and it smoothly transitions from one state to another. And that's really what keyframing does. It just moves it from one state to the other. And these keyframes say what that state is, like fully opaque, fully transparent. There's other types of keyframes that you can do. There are move, it can be start here, move there. You can warp, you can distort. You can also do other filters like opacity blur, sharpen noise, color, lens blur. There's some other filters. So my recommendation is just play around with it and see, what each of those things do. But that's a good question. And then to talk about performing, when you do a perform, it's basically just auto-generating those keyframes. Like you can see all the keyframes for that rotation and that movement are here. So it's like capturing your movement and translating them to keyframes. And you can even edit the keyframes for your performing too, which is pretty cool. Yeah. Yes, the tracks exist as it is. And then so what's cool about this is like this wand it's very like non-destructive. I don't know if you know in Procreate, when you move things around, sometimes they'll get a little pixelated and stuff. That's not what's happening here. It's like, this is its own piece of artwork, and we're just applying all the things on top, applying all the animations and the effects on top of that. But the original artwork always exists on its own, if that makes sense. Yeah. Is it better to draw a character in Procreate than to animate and then animate it in Procreate Dreams? Or is it okay and easier to draw in Dreams? So that's, I think both. I'll show you a character I animated here that I drew in Procreate, and if I can find it. Okay, it's a little me character. I taught a little demo at the Procreate booth at the Lightbox Expo conference this year. And I did this little character to kind of like introduce that I was going to do that. And so I drew the whole thing in Procreate, and I separated out all the different parts that were going to move onto separate layers in Procreate. But like you can do things like that in Procreate Dreams. I think just for me, I'm so accustomed to Procreate and I can move so quickly through Procreate. It's a little bit easier for me to do it this way. But especially with the addition of the new tools, the select and transform, the copy paste and things like that, you can certainly do a lot right inside Dream. So I think it comes down to whatever feels better for your own workflow. You can try doing it Dreams, or if it's easier to bring it in from Procreate, you can. I'll show you the animation of that one. So there's a little, oh, my fonts. There was a cute font there and messed up, but yeah, that was a little animation that I did. And like the arms were on separate layers so they could move. Ugh, the font's terrible. Gotta get the right font on this one. But you can import custom fonts into Procreate Dream. I just haven't done it yet. So that was a little animation that I made for my character. So yeah, it's kind of up to you, but I like generating my artwork in Procreate Dreams. Can we use 3D models in Procreate Dreams too? You could import like a video of a 3D model rotating or something, but like the actual editable 3D model, no. But if you like, set it up in, some other app and then brought in the video of that, you could do that. And then like add animations over the top of it. But it's not gonna like map, paint and texture to 3D models. Let's see, I love how you copied a Procreate layer in a Procreate Dreams. Can you show that again? Yes, and actually let me show you, I'll do you one better and show you how you can import an entire Procreate file into Procreate Dreams. So let's see, I'm gonna go back into Gallery. And for example, I'll use this apples one. These are what my layers look like, just to refresh. I have each apple on its own layer, and then the background is its own layer. So if I go back out to gallery view, I can actually tap and hold that and kind of like drag it like this. And then, whoops, go to Procreate Dreams and just drop that into the timeline right here. And, you can use Compose, of course, to move it around and resize it, what have you. But the cool thing is if you drop in a whole Procreate file, you can actually tap and hold here. Whoops, tap and hold. And we have convert drawing layers to tracks. And this is really, really cool. So convert drawing layers to tracks. And you'll see now it says group instead of drawing right here. And now you can see all my layers. I have the 3 apples and I have the background. And those are all, I can, just go to one of them. I can perform and I can move it around like that. I can go to this one and I can move it around like that. So like, if you have your file set up like this, it's really easy to move from illustration to animation. And like, I have fun little apples moving. And that could be like funner to share on my Instagram or something. Instead of just sharing the static image, now I can share it as a video. I have a really great Skillshare. It's another live session I did with Skillshare, and I actually have my Skillshare up. This is my Skillshare teacher page, my profile. They did a really cool studio tour with me if you want to check out where I work. But here's all my classes. Getting started with Procreate Dreams, animation for everyone. This is like the in-depth course about Procreate Dreams. Of course, some of the interface is going to be a little bit different because of all the things I showed you today. But this one's really great. This is a live session I did with Skillshare, and it's all about how to animate an illustration from a Procreate file to like creating this fun, like we animate sorry, this is blurry, but the cat breathes and the photo like swings and the clock moves and there's a little mouse going across and it's like a really fun one. So if you want to learn how to animate your illustrations, that's a really excellent choice. You can check that one out on my Skillshare. Okay, maybe like one more question, I think. Let's see. Can the animation brushes be used in Procreate Dreams? I don't think so yet. I know this is something that people are requesting and I've seen Procreate speak on this. So I don't know if that's coming or if that's already like that. But as far as I know, not yet, but maybe. So sorry for not having a definite answer on that. Oh, and Tuttlefish asked if I had an iPad Air, how well does it work if you don't have an iPad Pro? It'll still work great. Like it's so built so well on the back end that it's optimized to work in all kinds of iPads. Like if you have a really, really old iPad, it might be a little slower and clunkier because, that's just how things go with hardware. But Yeah, iPad Air is a great model. I love the iPad Air. You do not have to have an iPad Pro. You can have an iPad Air, you can have an iPad, I think it works on the mini probably, standard iPad, you can do all of it. Yeah. Um, oh yeah, thanks for showing that. Yeah, the moving the Procreate files, I do a lot of that in my course, so that animation, whoops, animation for everyone. This one has, bringing in a Procreate file and animating it, starting from scratch. I have a lot of templates and things that like a starter file that you can, has all the artwork and you just have to do the animation part. So there's a lot of great lessons in this Procreate Dreams course that I have on Skillshare. So yeah, alrighty, guys. Woo, spun that around. All right, I think all the time we have for questions today. But you guys, thank you so much for joining me today. Please share your creations. I would love to see them. That's one of my favorite things about teaching is getting to see what everybody creates from the things that I'm teaching. So I can't wait to see like what things that you animate or that you change, like what magic, what magic you create. So if you're gonna share your artwork on Instagram, please tag me, Lisa Bardot, and Skillshare. So we have all our handles down in the description here. And use the hashtag Skillshare Live as well. I would love, love, love to see what you create. You can also add your artwork into the projects tab of my Skillshare classes and get feedback from the community there, so you can share your artwork there. And then before we wrap up, there's a special bonus for you from Skillshare and Procreate. You can actually get 2 months of Skillshare for free so that you can explore all the Procreate Dreams classes that are available on Skillshare. And since it's January, January's coming up, there's going to be a lot of new classes that are going to be available. So it's a really great time to jump in and explore all that there is to learn. Yeah, please be sure to subscribe to Skillshare's YouTube channel and subscribe to the Bardot Brush YouTube channel. We have a ton of great education on both of those channels that I would love for you guys to check out. I actually have some Procreate Dreams tutorials right on YouTube if you want to check those out. I've got like a little 30-minute mini workshop, this fun animated collage tutorial, and then like this frog where we make it croak and make sound and stuff. So that's really fun. That's all on my YouTube channel. And yeah, I am so appreciative of you guys joining me today. I can't wait to see what you create. And be sure to share your work. Thank you guys so much. Happy animating. I can't wait to see all your magical creations. And I will see you next time. Happy art making. Bye-bye.